Have you ever been blindsided by betrayal? That sudden shock when someone you trusted, whether it's a friend, a partner, or even a colleague, turns their back on you without warning? It feels like a punch to the gut, doesn't it? But what if I told you betrayal doesn't just happen out of nowhere? There are often hidden signs, slow building emotions, and psychological patterns that precede it. If only we knew how to spot them. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that betrayal follows a specific pattern, a script that plays out in human relationships. It's not just a random act of cruelty, it's the result of deeper, unresolved issues within the betrayer themselves. The truth is, betrayal often has less to do with you and more to do with the betrayer's own insecurities, fears, and suppressed emotions. In today's video, we'll explore how betrayal unfolds and, more importantly, how you can spot the warning signs before it's too late. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you'll never look at your relationships the same way again. Understanding the psychological roots of betrayal. Betrayal doesn't just happen overnight. In fact, the moment of betrayal is often the breaking point of something that has been building up for a long time. Carl Jung's psychological theories offer invaluable insight into why betrayal occurs, revealing how it arises from unconscious emotional conflicts that may not be immediately visible. Let's start by understanding how betrayal originates in the depths of the psyche and why it's often the result of suppressed feelings, desires, and unresolved fears. One of Jung's most significant contributions to psychology is the concept of the shadow self, the unconscious part of the mind that consists of all the traits, emotions, and impulses that we reject or suppress because they don't align with our ideal self-image. This part of us contains everything we don't want to acknowledge about ourselves, our insecurities, negative emotions, fears, and even desires that we deem unacceptable. These suppressed feelings don't just vanish. Instead, they fester and can eventually manifest in destructive ways, including betrayal. The person who betrays often does so as a way of projecting their own shadow onto someone else, using the betrayal as a means to escape the uncomfortable truths they refuse to confront within themselves. Resentment builds gradually. Betrayal is not a sudden event, it is the result of a gradual buildup of unresolved emotions. Often, it is not something that happens in one instant, but rather something that grows over time, hidden beneath the surface. This process is like an unseen storm gathering momentum, waiting for the right moment to strike. It might start as a small seed of resentment or jealousy, often overlooked or brushed aside, but over time, it grows stronger as negative emotions continue to simmer below the surface. At first, these feelings may not be consciously recognized, either by the betrayer or the betrayed. The first signs might be subtle, small shifts in behavior, minor irritations that seem to go unnoticed or unaddressed. However, as these emotions continue to be suppressed and ignored, they begin to seep through cracks in the relationship. A comment here, a look there, perhaps a casual dismissal of something important to the other person. These small signs are often ignored because they seem insignificant in the moment. However, as the weeks or months pass, the emotional charge builds until, eventually, betrayal happens. This is when the betrayer acts out, either consciously or unconsciously, in a way that disrupts the relationship entirely. By understanding this gradual buildup, we can see that betrayal is rarely a sudden action, it is more like a breaking point of accumulated tension. Recognizing this in relationships allows us to catch the early signs before they escalate into something more harmful. The mirror effect, betrayal as a reflection of the betrayer's issues. One of the most profound psychological insights about betrayal is the idea that the betrayed person is often a mirror for the betrayer's unresolved issues. The closer the relationship, the more powerful this mirror effect can be. Carl Jung believed that people often project their own negative feelings onto others, especially those they are closest to. The betrayer might see in the betrayed person qualities they secretly envy, fear, or despise, qualities that they can't fully acknowledge in themselves. This leads them to develop a distorted narrative, justifying the betrayal as a way to rid themselves of these uncomfortable reflections. Think about a situation where a friend, partner, or colleague suddenly starts behaving differently toward you, someone who used to be supportive, encouraging, or even proud of your accomplishments. It can feel like a complete shift, almost like they've become a different person. But what might actually be happening is that their internal struggle, jealousy, or unresolved emotions are being projected onto you. Perhaps you've become more successful, healthier, or happier, and instead of feeling inspired, they feel threatened by the reminder of what they lack. Instead of confronting their feelings of envy, they begin to criticize you or distance themselves from you, seeing your success as a personal affront. This projection can be incredibly damaging because it distorts the way the betrayer perceives you. They may even start to tell themselves that you've changed, that you're no longer the person they once knew, or that you no longer deserve the success or happiness you've achieved. In this warped perspective, the betrayer feels justified in their actions, believing that they are doing the right thing, even if it means betraying the trust of someone they once cared for. Understanding the mirror effect helps us see that betrayal is often not a reflection of our shortcomings, but a manifestation of the betrayer's internal conflicts. Jealousy and insecurity, the silent catalysts of betrayal. One of the most corrosive forces in human relationships is jealousy. Carl Jung believed that jealousy arises when we see in someone else something that we believe we lack, whether it's success, confidence, love, or even peace of mind. The danger of jealousy is that it doesn't always express itself in overt hostility. Instead, it often hides behind subtle, passive-aggressive behaviors, things like backhanded compliments, emotional distance, or sarcastic remarks. For example, you might have a friend who used to celebrate your successes, but over time, they start to pull away. They no longer support your achievements, or even seem to notice them. Instead of encouragement, they offer subtle dismissals, perhaps making comments like, "Must be nice to have that kind of time," or, "I don't know how you manage to do all that." These seemingly innocent remarks are actually manifestations of their jealousy, an inability to celebrate your growth because it highlights their own feelings of inadequacy or stagnation. Jealousy is often a silent catalyst for betrayal because it's not always immediately apparent. The jealous person may not even recognize the roots of their emotions, nor do they understand how it's affecting their relationship with you. Over time, this simmering resentment can turn into a full-fledged betrayal, as the jealous person distances themselves, undermines you, or becomes actively critical of your choices and successes. By recognizing these subtle signs of jealousy early on, we can prevent it from snowballing into a deeper betrayal that harms both parties. The mask of manipulation, calculated betrayals. While some betrayals arise from unconscious emotional conflicts, others are more calculated and manipulative. These betrayals are often harder to spot because the betrayer wears a mask of kindness and loyalty, only to reveal their true nature when they no longer need you. Carl Jung believed that certain individuals wear false personas, presenting themselves as supportive and caring while secretly harboring their own hidden agendas. These people may appear charming, generous, or even protective, traits that make them seem trustworthy and dependable. However, once they no longer require your emotional support, financial assistance, or social connections, their true intentions surface. A friend who was once always there for you, offering help whenever needed, might suddenly become distant or unresponsive when they realize they no longer have anything to gain from the relationship. Perhaps they only valued the relationship because they were benefiting from it, and once that benefit fades, so does their loyalty. The mask slips, and you see the person for who they truly are, someone who was never genuinely invested in your well-being but was instead playing a role to serve their own needs. These manipulative betrayals are particularly difficult to detect because they don't typically involve overt signs of animosity. Instead, they operate under the guise of friendship, love, or support. But once the manipulator feels that they no longer need you or your resources, they'll cut ties or turn against you without any hesitation. Recognizing this type of betrayal requires an awareness of the deeper psychological motives that might be at play, even when everything on the surface appears to be fine. This is why it's essential to always be mindful of the dynamics of a relationship and to pay attention to any sudden shifts in behavior that might indicate that you are being manipulated. Hidden power struggles. Betrayal rooted in control. Betrayal can sometimes arise from a hidden power struggle within relationships, where one person feels the need to maintain dominance over the other. This form of betrayal is particularly insidious because it's often masked under the guise of support, care, or partnership. However, when the betrayer begins to sense that their control is slipping, whether it's in a personal relationship, a professional environment, or even within family dynamics, they may resort to manipulative behaviors to regain that dominance. Carl Jung suggested that power dynamics often play a subtle yet significant role in human interactions. Some individuals feel insecure or threatened when they lose influence over others, and this fear of losing control can lead them to betray those closest to them. For instance, you might have a boss or colleague who initially seemed supportive, but once you begin to excel or outshine them in your work, they start undermining you. They might take credit for your ideas, criticize your performance unnecessarily, or create obstacles to hinder your progress. This shift happens because, in their eyes, your success represents a loss of their power, and they need to reclaim that control to feel secure. The betrayal in these situations is rooted in fear, a fear of being overshadowed or becoming irrelevant. The person betraying you is not acting out of malice but rather out of their own insecurity and need to reassert dominance. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for recognizing when power struggles are taking place within a relationship, so you can identify these manipulative behaviors early on and decide how to protect yourself from further emotional harm. Betrayal as a mask of loyalty, the opportunistic betrayer. Another common form of betrayal comes from those who are opportunistic, using their charm and seemingly genuine behavior as a means to fulfill their own needs. This type of betrayal is often seen in individuals who are always present when they need something from you but disappear once they no longer have anything to gain. They may present themselves as your closest ally, constantly offering assistance, advice, or emotional support. Yet, when the relationship is no longer beneficial to them, they abruptly withdraw, revealing that their loyalty was conditional and based on what they could extract from you. Jung believed that some people wear a mask of loyalty or care, not out of genuine affection or friendship, but because they want something in return. These individuals are highly manipulative, and their behavior is calculated to secure their own interests. For example, you may have a friend or colleague who showers you with compliments, constantly offers help, or is there for you during difficult times. But when you can no longer provide what they need, whether it's emotional support, financial help, or access to valuable connections, they quickly turn away, showing no regard for the bond that once seemed so strong. These betrayals are difficult to detect because the person acts with such charm and warmth, making it hard to imagine that their actions are anything but genuine. However, once the relationship no longer benefits them, their true colors begin to show. Understanding the difference between true loyalty and opportunistic behavior can help you avoid falling into these types of traps. It's important to examine whether someone's kindness is truly unconditional or whether it comes with an unspoken expectation of something in return. The unhealed wounds, how the past fuels present betrayal. Betrayal often happens because of unhealed wounds from the past that have never been fully addressed. These unresolved issues, whether from childhood, past relationships, or previous experiences, linger in the subconscious and can influence a person's present behavior. When these emotional scars are triggered, they can cause someone to act out in ways that damage their relationships. According to Jung, these wounds from the past are part of the shadow self, and when they are not dealt with, they can distort a person's view of others, leading to irrational feelings of anger, resentment, or jealousy. For example, a person who has experienced abandonment or rejection in the past may have difficulty trusting others. They might form close relationships only to sabotage them out of fear of being hurt again. These past wounds are not just personal to the betrayer, they can deeply affect the people around them. If someone has been betrayed or hurt in the past, they might start projecting those feelings onto you, suspecting that you will eventually betray them, even if there's no logical reason to believe that. This projection can cause them to act out in defensive ways, creating conflict or distance in the relationship, even if you haven't done anything wrong. Understanding how past experiences shape present behavior allows us to approach betrayal with more compassion and clarity. If you recognize that someone is betraying you because of their unresolved wounds, it may help to address the root causes of their behavior and decide whether you want to continue in the relationship. Sometimes, acknowledging that a person's actions are not directly related to your actions can help you avoid taking their betrayal personally. The role of ego in betrayal: protecting the self at all costs. Another psychological factor that contributes to betrayal is the role of the ego. According to Carl Jung, the ego is the part of our psyche that we identify with. It's how we perceive ourselves and the image we project to the world. When someone's ego is threatened, especially in close relationships, they may feel the need to protect themselves at all costs, even if it means betraying someone they care about. This self-preservation instinct is a deeply ingrained part of the human psyche, but when it leads to betrayal, it's often driven by fear rather than logic. For instance, imagine a situation where a person feels their reputation or self-image is at risk. Perhaps they perceive you as a threat to their status or identity. In order to protect their ego, they might betray you, undermine your efforts, or turn others against you to maintain their sense of superiority. This kind of betrayal is rooted in a fragile sense of self-worth, and the person betraying you might not even be fully aware of how their fear is driving their actions. They may justify their betrayal as a way to preserve their own well-being, even if it harms others in the process. Understanding the connection between ego and betrayal allows us to recognize that the actions of the betrayer are often not about us, but rather about their own internal conflicts and fears. By keeping this in mind, we can approach the situation with a sense of detachment, understanding that their behavior is a reflection of their own insecurities, not a reflection of our worth. The need for boundaries: protecting yourself from future betrayals. The final point to consider when examining betrayal is the importance of setting healthy boundaries in relationships. Betrayal can often be prevented, or at least mitigated, by establishing clear personal boundaries with others. By knowing what is acceptable behavior and what is not, we can protect ourselves from the toxic behaviors that often lead to betrayal. Boundaries are essential not only for emotional protection, but also for maintaining a sense of self-respect and self-worth. Carl Jung believed that maintaining healthy boundaries is an essential part of psychological well-being. When we allow others to overstep boundaries, we give them permission to treat us in ways that are harmful. Betrayal often occurs when boundaries are ignored or crossed, either intentionally or unintentionally. If you don't set clear limits, others may take advantage of your generosity, loyalty, or trust, leading to emotional harm and eventually betrayal. Setting boundaries requires self-awareness and the courage to say no when necessary. It's about recognizing when a relationship is becoming unhealthy or when someone's behavior is beginning to cross a line. While it's important to be compassionate and forgiving, it's equally crucial to protect your emotional well-being by not tolerating behaviors that are damaging or disrespectful. By establishing boundaries early on in relationships, you create a framework that helps prevent betrayal and ensures that you are treated with the respect you deserve. The dangers of envy: how jealousy leads to betrayal. Envy is one of the most insidious and corrosive emotions that can lead to betrayal. Carl Jung often discussed how our shadow, the parts of ourselves that we suppress and do not acknowledge, manifests in various ways, including jealousy. This emotion arises when we perceive someone else as possessing qualities or achievements that we feel we lack. Whether it's success, happiness, intelligence, or even social status, envy can fester quietly, leading to passive-aggressive behavior, resentment, and ultimately betrayal. When jealousy takes hold, it doesn't often show itself as overt hostility. Instead, it sneaks in through small, seemingly harmless comments or actions. A friend who used to support your successes now downplays your achievements. Or a partner who once encouraged your ambition subtly begins to criticize your every move. Over time, these small actions build up, creating an undercurrent of negative feelings. Eventually, the jealous individual may betray you, often without recognizing how their unresolved envy has shaped their actions. This form of betrayal is dangerous because it grows slowly, often masked by what appears to be concern or friendship, until it erupts in a moment of conflict or disengagement. Understanding the role of envy in betrayal can help us identify it early and address it before it leads to more harm. By acknowledging when we feel jealousy ourselves, or when it's coming from others, we can take steps to prevent the emotional damage that can arise from envy. The key is to foster self-awareness and empathy, both for ourselves and those around us, to mitigate the destructive potential of jealousy. Betrayal as a reflection of the betrayer's weakness, not yours. Finally, it's crucial to recognize that betrayal is often more about the betrayer's weaknesses than it is about you. While betrayal can feel deeply personal, it's important to remember that the individual who betrays you is likely struggling with their own unresolved issues, insecurities, or fears. Jung emphasized that betrayal is a reflection of the betrayer's inner turmoil, their inability to face their own shadow, and their desire to protect themselves at the expense of others. When someone betrays you, it is not necessarily because of something you did wrong, but because they were unable to deal with their own internal struggles. This can be an empowering realization. It allows you to take the betrayal less personally and helps you move forward with greater clarity and emotional resilience. Instead of blaming yourself or feeling guilt, you can see the situation for what it truly is, an unfortunate reflection of someone else's inability to confront their own emotions, desires, and fears. By understanding this dynamic, you can protect your self-worth and avoid allowing the betrayal to define you. Learning, growing, and moving forward. Betrayal, though painful, can serve as a powerful tool for personal growth. While it strips away the illusion of certain relationships, it also provides an opportunity for reflection and self-awareness. Carl Jung's insights into the human psyche, especially his concept of the shadow, help us understand why betrayal happens and how we can learn from it. By recognizing the psychological forces at play, such as envy, unhealed wounds, power struggles, and the role of ego, we can prevent future betrayals or, at the very least, handle them with greater wisdom. The most important lesson is this: betrayal is never a reflection of your weakness but a window into the weaknesses of others. It's an opportunity to refine your boundaries, strengthen your relationships with those who truly value you, and let go of those who don't. As you navigate the complexities of human relationships, remember to trust slowly, observe carefully, and always prioritize your emotional well-being. The right people, the ones who truly respect and care for you, will never betray you. Thank you for watching. If this video has resonated with you, share it with someone who might benefit from this insight. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.